Hello, I'm Steve Waterworth, Technical Marketing Manager at Weaveworks. In this video, I'm going to show you Weave GitOps MultiCluster Control plane, managing Kubernetes clusters anywhere from a single console. Weave GitOps is a continuous operations product that makes it easy to deploy and manage Kubernetes clusters and applications at scale in any environment. Built on Flux, it provides continuous application delivery while enhancing security and accelerating software delivery lifecycle. The Cloud Native Computing Foundation survey clearly shows that Kubernetes adoption is rapidly increasing in organizations, with multiple clusters across multiple cloud providers, in data centers, and at the edge being the new normal rather than the exception. Managing these complex environments is a challenge for most enterprises today. Weave GitOps MultiCluster Control plane extends the principles of GitOps to managing Kubernetes clusters and not just the applications deployed on them. All major cloud providers are supported, along with physical servers using liquid metal, which uses Firecracker micro VMs on bare metal. Using cluster templates defined by the platform team, DevOps engineers can create clusters and deploy standard components such as observability on them at startup. Team Workspaces provides full roles-based access control integrated into corporate identity and access management.
And we have here we have our Weave GitOps Enterprise UI. This is the cluster management UI, and we can see a list of clusters that we've already deployed on different environments. So Liquid Metal, our own provider for bare metal hosts, and EKS we've already got deployed here. So let's go through and create a cluster. So I click on the Create Cluster button. That takes me to the list of templates, and then I can select a template to use for building a cluster. I'm going to use the Liquid Metal Edge specification, which allows me to deploy a small cluster to a bare metal host, which is quite efficient. So I need to type in a cluster name. I need to select the CNI plugin to use. I'm going to use Cilium here. I'm only going to have one control plane machine, as this is a small test environment. I'm going to set the control plane IP, and I'm going to set a load balancer IP as well. I'm going to select the bare metal host to host this cluster on, and the Kubernetes version to use, and the number of worker machines I want. Now down here we have the profiles. Now profiles are a collection of Helm charts with some additional annotations that allow us to pull those from a Git repository and install them when we're installing a cluster. Now the profiles can be selected by the user building the cluster. I can select a couple of profiles. I can select the version of the profile that I want, set the namespace, and I can even edit the values that are used with the Helm chart. Not only can I have optional components like profiles, I can also have compulsory ones. So Cert Manager compulsory here, I can't select it or deselect it. I can, however, edit the values. So I can customize it further. The Metal LB, however, is also compulsory, but I can't change the values here. There's no ability to be able to change these values. That's partly because we use a variable from the form in this configuration. So let's go ahead and create that pull request. As we do everything with GitOps, when we deploy a cluster, that creates a pull request in a Git repository. So we'll just click on the button and allow Weave GitOps to make that pull request for us. And that's done. And now I can click on the open pull requests and see the demo 33 cluster. I can see the files change. I'm going to go ahead and merge that so that the cluster deployment gets started. But meanwhile, we can have a quick look at that. We've got a number of objects that created as part of the demo 33 cluster deployment. This includes the profiles that we selected and the values that were in those snippets of Helm chart. And of course, that's defaults or deviations from the default values that are set on the Helm chart. Then we've got the actual cluster here, which the first object is a GitOps cluster. This is what we use in Weave GitOps Enterprise to identify the cluster. And then we've got the cluster API object, which creates the cluster, and the additional objects that set the node pools for the control plane and the worker nodes. So that's the shape of the commit to the repo, and then that creates a cluster definition in a directory in here, where we can then see the additional components. Let's go and check to see how far this has got. Demo 33, here it is. And we can see that it's in the process of deploying the control plane nodes at the moment. And so we'll have to wait for that to happen. Now it allows you to download a kubeconfig by clicking here. And that loads a kubeconfig or downloads a kubeconfig so that I can use it to inspect the cluster. So if we go back to the command line, I've got a shortcut here that will use that file I've just downloaded to connect to the cluster and see the pods that are running. Oh, we can see that the control plane is up and running, and the worker nodes are starting up as well, and we can now see the pods that are already running on the cluster. So the cluster is starting up and starting to build the basic Kubernetes components. When that's up and running, the bootstrap process will kick off. The bootstrap process, there we go, the cluster's provisioned now. The bootstrap process will automatically install Flux. And we can see that in the repository here. You can see these commits that arrive add the Flux system components into the demo 33 directory automatically on the bootstrap of the cluster. When the cluster's finished, when the cluster is ready, it will create those for us. And that means that we have Flux starting up here. Got the Helm controller, customized controller, notification controller, and source controller for Flux, which is starting up at the moment. Once that's finished starting up, that will then start to sync the profiles back to the cluster, and so it will start installing all the other cluster components there. Meanwhile, we can observe what's happening when it connects back to the cluster. We'll be able to see that those cluster applications. Demo 33 is now here, and we can start to see the we should be able to start to see the applications being installed onto Demo 33 as well. There we go. We can now see the process of installing the profiles. We can see the Prometheus is just about to be installed after Ingress Nginx. We can see that here as well. We can see the Metal LB, Cert Manager, etc. Profiles are already installed, the policy agent, and there we go. Prometheus is now starting to install as well.
Thank you for watching. I hope you found it informative. To learn more about this topic, follow the bit.ly link or scan the QR code to download a white paper. To find out more about Weave GitOps, visit our website. We regularly host hands-on workshops. To join in, visit our events page.